I was watching some videos on YouTube with Chad about the new games coming out, and I started to dig into some looter shooters. And this is around 2024 when the new year started, January 10th. While I was doing that, I ran into some gameplay from IGN while I was exploring games like Ashfall and things like that, Final Descendant. I ran into a IGN video about Suicide Squad, and oh boy, what a turn of events that was. Pure disclaimer right here, I watched base gameplay and vids from IGN, GameSpot, and a few other YouTubers while I was live on Twitch. I streamed twitch.tv/discomaniac. Come check me out if you like the rest of this video. I watched everyone critique the game, so I wanted to put my foot in the ring as a nerd, a loser, and a gamer, and more importantly, a looter shooter, and trying to become a gaming review content creator. So I really hope you guys kind of enjoy my personal opinion on the game, and I hope you guys can kind of like salvage positive aspects in what I say towards this game. And I really think that the new Suicide Squad game has a lot of potential, but I think it gets a lot of hatred for the fact that it's trying to do something a little different and it's not sticking to its original roots. And I'll go through a couple of those and maybe change your opinion and see if you can kind of agree with me. So to start with the pros, because I think starting with the good is better than starting with some of the bad, I think the game had really amazing visuals. Sadly, I'm not going to show any gameplay because I like to be true to myself and everybody else, and I'd like to show my own stuff, so I'm just going to put some random game in the background. Hope that's amusing for the rest of you guys. But I think the visuals in the game really has a unique feel to it. It kind of makes it seem like you're playing in a cartoon. I wouldn't say a cartoon, but it feels like you're actually in the comic book. With the looter shooter aspect to it, I think it also helps with a lot of replayability. But with that, it also has big build crafting. I think that's a really big thing that they have. With all the new characters, there's 4 different characters: King Shark, Deadshot, Harley Quinn, and Boomerang. They have all unique playstyles and they traverse throughout the environment very unique-like. And I think that helps the game feel a lot more real and less like you are just playing as a random character with the same base movements, which I think also increases a lot of replayability. I think the game seems very fun to play. It feels like a mix between Spider-Man and Batman and like all the other looter shooter games that we have available. And it seems like something that I feel like you could genuinely sit down and play for a very long time. A big thing that I heard about, a lot of people complained that there was a lot going on. And I think that's very interesting to complain about, because in a game where it's kind of like you are doing something that's very difficult and different than everybody else, I think it's cool to have that aspect. Like, I think it's awesome that there is a lot going on. You are basically a human or a mutant in your own way, and you are trying to kill the Justice League. It's not going to be easy, and you're a small group of people. I think the fact that there is a lot going on is what should be bringing more attention to this game, rather than a lot of other games. Plus, being into looter shooters and nerdy stuff, I get enthralled with that kind of mentality. I want to feel like I'm overwhelmed and being overwhelmed at every second and every turn, especially during a lot of the fights, because fighting Green Lantern, I would be surprised if that fight was just like a normal boss fight in like Destiny or something like that. I would prefer it if it seems like my back's against the wall. That's just a personal opinion, though. I do take a lot of pride into like video games, and I think that everything about a video game is beautiful. A big team takes a lot of time out of their day to make this game, so to just have a whole bunch of people shit on it, it just seems really rude, in my personal opinion. And after seeing it, I was at fault. I was making a lot of fun about this game. I thought that everyone else was like, oh, it's trash, and I honestly was just like, hell yeah. And then after seeing gameplay, I bought the game. After seeing IGN's video, I bought the game. And it was... We'll get into that later. There's the game, as I mentioned, lots of replayability with the looter shooter aspect, a lot of loot drops, and it seems, again, with big build crafting, you can craft a lot of different things. Moving on from that, there's a lot of character banter in the game, which I think is very unique. There's not a lot of games that have unique banter, especially, and from what I've heard, it seems like the characters will talk to you while the mission's going on and talk to each other, and you can move while you do dialogue. If you know me, I'm not a huge person into dialogue. I don't really like sitting down and just doing nothing but dialogue, just listening and yip-yapping. I don't really like any of that. I like moving and traversing through environments, running through buildings, fighting combat while you talk. That's what I really liked about the Spider-Man game, and you can do that in this game. And like I said, all the characters have different ways of traversing and moving around, which I think is remarkable. Being able to do that, it just seems very standoutish, and I think that they should definitely get a lot of pride in doing that. Plus, with the hit markers, I think it's amazing seeing the damage you do, but you can also remove that. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I heard you can, which I think is just really cool. I'd like to also mention real quick, before I get into this, I don't really like watching people play games. I'm more of someone who likes playing them myself. I can't sit down and watch them at all. So the fact that I was able to spend probably a couple hours on Twitch sitting there and just watching gameplay and just getting really excited, I think is a statement in its own. I know a lot of people didn't like this game, and I'm not here to try to change your opinion. I'm just trying to give my own opinion and find the people that really do like this game and definitely see some good things in it. That way we can all enjoy it when the game comes out February 2nd, 2024. I stream on Twitch again. Come check me out. And I think it'll be a lot of fun for us all to kind of sit down and relax. And I definitely think that this game doesn't deserve nearly as much hate as it gets. It's a game where you're playing as the Suicide Squad trying to kill the Justice League. It's not going to be an easy task. And I think that the fact that it is something that they accomplished and made the story. They've created a very enticing story, and I think that we should all really praise that. We have this opportunity to play it, so let's enjoy it, and let's sit down and actually relax on it, and just see what it has to offer, you know? I think a big thing that a lot of people didn't like is the fact that they added guns, and I really wanted to talk about that a little bit. I think the fact that they added guns isn't something that we should all be kind of step back from and be like, oh, this game is bad. I actually think that now that they added guns, I can't not see guns in this game. Now, that's not to say that guns are the biggest part of this game. Each character has its own playstyle. I mean, I'm telling you, they have their own skill trees, everything like that. If you don't believe me, please go check out some gameplay. I will definitely link one of the YouTubers that I think gave a pretty decent review on it, and they actually had a chance to play it. I'll put that one in the link of the description below, and definitely go send them some love. I think they deserve it. They made a decent review, though I didn't agree with them on everything they said, especially the negatives. I really don't think there's a lot of negatives to this game. I think it's going to be something that will be really cool to try out, and I don't really think it could do bad unless the game wants it to do bad. But it came out, the development, I consider it to start in 2020, but it came out in 2012. I understand that people are probably going to have an issue with that. I do apologize. But I think what's really important here is that we all kind of understand that people, again, put their time into this game. And I think it's nice to try it and see what it's like. After watching the IGN video, like I said, I bought the game and it's 70 snickerdoodles. So it's not like I just kind of sat there and was like, ooh, I'm going to do this out of spite. $70 for a game is a lot of money for a game. I got excited when a game was $40. So that should probably tell you a little bit about me. So the fact that I was able to see it, buy it, and then move on with it, I think that says something. And I'm excited to try it out. A lot of people are going to argue that with a looting system and guns makes the game boring, but I feel like that's far from the case. After I saw the guns, it made it impossible for me not to see them, like I mentioned before, and I think that adds to the immersiveness that you can have in the game. It wouldn't make sense if you were running around as Harley Quinn, just using pistols and a bat. I mean, I know that would be cool, and it makes sense. Harley Quinn would do stuff like that, but to be honest, I don't really see how much other characters would get played besides Deadshot and Harley Quinn, because if Boomerang only had boomerangs and King Shark was just running around as a shark, I feel like this game would kind of move into more of a turn-based strategy kind of game, which maybe that's a whole different thing they could do. But I think that the way that this game operates with loot systems and customizations and the guns themselves, I think that they're doing this in a beautiful way, and I'm really excited. A big thing that I really noticed about the game itself, a lot of people mentioned that the Flash fight seemed quote-unquote too hard. And I think that doesn't really make any sense to me. I understand that that might be a crazy opinion. Not all boss fights are supposed to be easy. I know that that's a statement that might make people irritated. I'm so sorry, but me as a Souls-like player who's played games with decently hard boss fights, I think a hard boss fight is probably one of the coolest things in the game, especially if you are taking a character that we all know and you're making that fight actually seem like it's doing justice to that character. Justice League. But I think it's really important that a lot of people kind of go into that mentality of they're making this hard for the reason that it's immersive. It's supposed to kind of get that feeling of, oh, we are fighting the Justice League. And it's kind of upsetting that a lot of people argued that, oh, it's hard to fight the Flash. Yes, it's going to be hard to fight the Flash if you don't have superpowers. That's kind of the whole point of the whole game. So when people were arguing that the Flash height was too hard, I don't know. Me and chat kind of agree, get good. And that's just kind of where I want to leave that. Yeah. I did talk a lot about the pros, and again, I kind of understand that a lot of people are going to be like, ooh, you're just saying this because you like the game, and you're a big looter shooter fan, and you like DC and Marvel, you're like a nerd, you're a goober, you're stinky. Well, I think that I just like good games, in my personal opinion. I know a lot of people have different hot takes on that, but I think that overall, from what I've seen, it has the potential to be one of the best games we've seen. It just takes a lot of games and puts them all into one with unique skill trees from Borderlands and the loadout system that kind of operates a lot like what Anthem could have been, and like the gameplay that looks like what a lot of these other games are trying to be, and the loot system that operates like Destiny, and the hopefully a grind that works a lot like Warframe, with a lot of really good games and competitors that they're basically trying to compete with and outdo. With characters that we all know, I think this game has potential to be very good, and especially with extreme replayability. But that's not to say that there are not cons that I do notice and did notice throughout a lot of different things. A big one was reduced visuals, because there was a big problem with a lot of clutter on the screen. A lot of chat was mentioning that, and the couple bugs that happened in the game. Of course, there are going to be bugs, but that's no excuse. And hopefully when this game comes out, it's polished, cleaned up, and there are no issues at all. A big bug that IGN noticed that I do reluctantly agree with is that if you do get knocked out of the air randomly, that would be very unfortunate. Other than that, the majority of the things that I saw, the gameplay was pretty fluid and it looked really nice. And I only saw that during that one example. So take that one with a grain of salt. I don't really know if that's really worth mentioning anymore, but let me get into the cons. So a big con that I have is I really hope you can play solo. If you can't play solo, I don't think this game will be nearly as good. Personally, even if I'm only running around as Harley Quinn or Deadshot or whoever I want to be able to have that opportunity. If I can play with my friends, that's cool. But if I can't, and I have to play with nothing but randoms all the time, or I have to play with my friends, or have to play with my friends and randoms, I don't know if the game will be as nice to me. Like, I understand it's the Suicide Squad against the Justice League, but if I can play the entire game as like Deadshot or with AIs running around with me, that would be pretty cool too. I think having AIs run with me with the whole squad, and like I can customize them specifically, that would be pretty awesome too. But I understand that there's not a lot of gameplay of it yet, but I'm excited to see if that's a potential chance. But if it's not, that will be a huge con, not being able to play solo. This one is something that I think a lot of people will agree with me on. Monetization for a $70 game is insane. I don't care what anybody says. $70, like I said previously, it's a lot of money to spend on a game. And so if you put a battle pass in there, you bet your sweat bippy, that battle pass better be banging. I already dropped 70 snickerdoodles on this game. I expect some absolutely delicious skins and things that I've never seen before. This battle pass better be snacked and packed, and I better not have to buy a single cosmetic in this game. I do not like monetization in games, and especially games that cost money, because you already took my wallet. What more do you want from me? Now, Destiny 2, I understand that game. When I say I understand why it gets hate. It's because of the monetization and the removing of content, and them not listening to the community. Now, for this game, it seems like they listen to the community, because they're taking really good aspects from all these different games, and they're putting it into one. But $70 for this game is insane. So, my hopes for this game are not high. They're pretty medium, but because I know how I operate, I know that my mind says they should be medium, but my heart is thumping, and I'm really excited. But that's still not to say that monetization in this game will be a problem. A big one that I'm still thinking about is the endgame content. Endgame content, that's a very scary thing to think about. I think a lot of games don't get it right, besides Destiny 2 and Warframe. There isn't really a lot of grinding things you can do in a lot of games. I think that's why a lot of them die out, because it goes story and then repetition, 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 repetition. And I think that's what makes looter shooter games kind of die out, except for a key few. And so I hope this game has a lot of really good endgame content. May that be New Game Plus, may that be anything else that could be a little enticing. Say you fight all of the Justice League at the same time, you do a mission where it's just by yourself, challenges, modifiers, things like that, replaying the entire story, things that could make the game more fun. Maybe a Left 4 Dead aspect where it's just you replay it on a harder difficulty, but you keep your gear. That's not Left 4 Dead. New Game Plus is basically what I'm saying. But I'm hoping that the new game content actually is new game content, and it's not just content, because that would be a little exhausting. If it's the same thing, like, it would be a grindy game, but give me something to grind for, if that makes sense. I know I mentioned before visual clutter. That's something that my chat really wanted me to mention in here, is visual clutter. But again, I think you can remove it, but if not, I will admit sometimes the text can pop up and there is a lot going on, and a lot of people didn't like that in the videos I watched. Me personally, I like it. Like I said previously, it makes the game a little bit more immersive, but if you don't like that, then I think there's options to remove it. But visual clutter is something that I think will get a little exhausting. And again, some bugs that may appear here or there. The biggest one that I don't think anyone really mentioned, and I think is worth mentioning, is this game looks like a lot happens. And with that, I think the system requirements might ruin a lot of people's experience. So if you don't have a high-end PC, or you're still rocking the Xbox 360 or the old PlayStation 4, I know my parents have one that came fresh off the line, it might not be able to run this game as well as it could, and I think that might affect people's opinions on the game. Before you go in, make sure your settings are optimized and make it so you can actually enjoy this game and give a fair opinion on it, because I think this game has a lot of potential. A lot of people think that this game is very mid, and I think this game has a lot of potential to be amazing, and I just don't understand why people hate on it so much. I know that there was a lot of misconstrued opinions on it because of the developers also creating Batman Arkham Asylum, but I think that we should all go into this game with high hopes, in my personal opinion, and just try to enjoy what we got, because a lot of the team did take their time on this game, and I think it's very important that we enjoy the time that they spent on it, because hell, this game might be one of the best games we've ever played. We never know. Overall, I think what Suicide Squad is trying to do is something that a lot of games fall short in doing. It's a hard mark to hit in a looter shooter with a compelling story, with games like Ashfall, Destiny 2, Warframe, The Division, and The First Ascendant being games that are going to be competing with Suicide Squad. I think if they work really hard and everything that we got to see in the playtesting in Los Angeles is super accurate, then we should all be in for a fantastic treat. By the way, everyone, this video is not supposed to make you agree with me, but more shed a positive side over a game that I think is getting a lot of hate for just existing and trying something new. Changing from Batman Arkham Asylum and a lot of different games can be a bit of a flip from Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, but I think that they're trying, and I think as long as they consistently work on it, keep updating it, and listen to the community, I think this game will be fantastic. But in short, I hope this video finds you well, and I hope you can at least sit down and try it with me whenever I start streaming the game February 2nd, my birth month. My birthday is February 28th, and I'm pretty excited about it, where I'll be streaming it at twitch.tv/discomaniac. That being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Check out my links, my Twitch and Discord down in the description below. Have a wonderful rest of your night. Peace out.